Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg, where I am playing a little bit of Skyrim with the Enderall total conversion. Because I'm doing a Let's Play of it, and it's pretty cool. And I'm playing exclusively in third person, which I've never really done before, but they have made some mods that make it pretty viable, I gotta say. I mean, it's never gonna be Elden Ring or anything, but it's not terrible. Anyways, this week on this channel, we had Dominions, we had solo RPGs, we had, I'll think of it, Cataclysm. Yes, Cataclysm. The three pillars of this channel. And that's, well, I mean, the solo RPGs and Dominions, of course, will definitely be continuing. But I think that's it for Cataclysm that I have recorded, so we're going to move on. I have some other goodies, though. I'll probably upload the Drifter point-and-click adventure game I've been doing. It's really good. Really engrossing sort of story and stuff. So I'll probably upload that. Oh, it seems I've wandered into a not good zone. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's that. I am back on hiatus now for I'm not recording any solo RPG stuff currently. But I recorded a lot. Like in the last couple months, I recorded a shit ton. So yeah. Between that and Dominions, I mean, we are set for a good long while. But I'm recording, yeah, various things. The Drifter, for one. I'm recording a Doom mod called Ashes that someone recommended, which is really cool. It's like Doom, but sort of Mad Max, Stalker vibes, Metro kind of thing. Really well made. They could definitely package it and sell it for sure. I'm also recording this, Enderall, for Skyrim, which is cool. So I'm in the mod mood right now, I guess. And then I'm also recording Putt-Putt. I'm recording all the Putt-Putt games. You know, the children's point-and-click adventure games. I'm recording all of them with the thought of doing an Exploring Series April Fool's video. Tentatively titled, Exploring the Nightmarish World of Putt-Putt. You know, I won't say anything else, but I'll upload the videos before April so you can kind of get an idea. It's, yeah, there's a lot to take in, to say the least. So that'll be fun. I haven't really done an April Fool's video in a while, because I just haven't really had an idea just spring to my mind. That's usually how most of my April Fool's videos have come about, is just like, I suddenly have an idea.
What the? Traveler up ahead.
And I need to make this video. It has to be put together.
Burn! Burn in the sunfire!
And so yeah, just sort of I replayed through Putt Putt Saves the Zoo just on my own out of nostalgia, and then I was like, you know, there might be some humor here. So, yeah, good stuff. Over on the Exploring series, I put out... I don't know what I was talking about last week, because I said I thought it was the existential abatement video or whatever it's called, but no, that was like last year, so no, it was the Stillborn City. Yeah, Stillborn City. The other two compilations that I need to do are the Steel Soul, which I didn't think got a lot of views, and then the Murphy Law, which never really gets that many views. So it's probably going to be a pretty dry January overall. And then for the last video, it's going to be... It could be the one I just did, Fractal. But I'd probably rather wait and at least end with something that's going to be watched more. And so I'll try to put together another big compilation, like 8 hours or whatever I can get up to. I also do want to try posting that Dunwich horror video from Mangg's movies. But I have a feeling it'll get copywritten. I was rewatching it a little bit. I mean, it is a little cringe, I guess, for me to rewatch it. Like when I was watching it. But it's just, I can't really watch myself or listen to myself in any way, so I'm not the best judge of how good it still is. I do think some people will get a kick out of it. Okay, is there... Oh, there it is. Jesus. Fucking Skyrim. And that's it. You know, I'm enjoying my vacation. It's still going well. I'm working on a big Lego set of Neuschwanstein Castle. And I'm watching the Foundation series on Apple TV. That's pretty good. Glad this wrapped back around from the beginning to closer to the end of your day. Yeah, I was preoccupied today, so... And I also slept in. Lego keeps pushing our streams later and later, because his sleep schedule is beyond just... Fuck. There is no schedule. He does not... He just has us sleep. There's no schedule. So, like, I usually try to keep a pretty strict bedtime. But he's just like, yeah, what? I'll just do another mission. Then, yeah, I really slept in today. Personally, like, he has a more normal job than I do, but I find it important to have, like, a pretty strict routine and schedule. Otherwise, things can really fall apart. Funny, I was talking about the April Fool's thing both times in the stream. Coincidence? Perhaps? But I am excited about it. Like, there's a lot of... It's the same thing when I did the Teletubbies video. Just like, I can just sort of start to envision the script in my head and think of a lot of funny lines. And that's a really good sign. I think it'll be a good hit. But I have to play through every putt-putt game. And I said that I also have to watch the Cars movies. I've never seen them, but I feel like it's somewhat going to be topically relevant. They're both universes inhabited by sapient cars. What the fuck? Yeah, so how'd this become a thing I wanted to do? Well, like when I brought up putt-putt the other day on stream because I saw that like one of the top selling or top rated things or something like that, maybe it was top selling in point and click adventure games on Steam, was the Freddy Fish collection. And so like when I started talking about it, because we were like, there isn't really anything like that nowadays, you know, for kids or whatever. And so we were talking about putt-putt, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking play Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo, because we grew up owning that game. So I have a lot of nostalgia for Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo. And so I did play through it, and then I was like, there's a lot of kind of odd observations I've made while playing through this. I feel like this could be an Exploring series video. And originally I just like, I'm just gonna make it about Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo. But as I thought about it more, I was like, no, I really should just do a whole look at the universe of Putt-Putt and how strange it is. Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo is the best. Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo is the only one you've played, though. I mean, I imagine it's probably the best one, but... yeah, so I gotta play through them all, and may as well record them.
And where did that suddenly come from?
Today, when I prepared the catch, I don't know, it just came to me.
Rip headphone users.
So you want us to name our child after an idea you had while disemboweling fish?
You make it sound so bad.
Do I?
Look, if you don't like it, we will find another one.
You're replaying Hollow Knight? That's good. I replay Hollow Knight all the time on stream with Archipelago. It's a lot of fun.
I really do.
Played Freddy Fish and the Missing Kelp. Putt-Putt is better. Yeah, but there's a lot of Putt-Putt games. You've never finished Hollow Knight? This is quite the overhaul. Well, yeah, it's basically a new game in Skyrim's engine. Takes like hours and hours to beat. Lego has finished Hollow Knight on baby mode. Summon sword. But yeah, anyways. So think it's Steel Soul that I'm releasing tomorrow. I gotta put it together for Exploring series. And then probably Murphy Law next week. And that's about it, really. And Lego's here, so we can talk about the Shadow Dark session that we had on Wednesday. Right, so we started a new campaign. And I decided to start them with a funnel because I don't know. I like it. I think it's a fun way to start a new campaign. Why is there a fucking head on the ground? Oh, yeah. No, why is there a head on the ground? And I went with Trial of the Slime Lord because I've now done it solo twice. It's generally regarded as the best gauntlet written for Shadow Dark. There's still a lot of DCC funnels that I could have run. There's other Shadow Dark gauntlets I could have run. There's also just like basically any level 1 adventure could be used as a funnel. But I like Trial of the Slime Lord because I prefer it for a funnel when the players are forced into a situation and they can't just decide to leave. And I also like it because it starts them with basically no gear, and they have to scramble, scavenge, and work with what they can find, which I think is fun. Lego says that he was a bitch and saved his +5 stat character by hiding him, which is a valid strat, I suppose. Unless, you know, the party disagrees. And Trial of the Slime Lord, the players are all just peasants from their village. They get abducted, thrown down a hole by some cultists to undergo the trial of their Slime Lord. And it started off well enough, I guess. You know, they moved ahead. They went into the collector's room. They scavenged around in the junk piles. They got some basic gear, the equipment. Nothing too crazy. They came across 3 statues that allude to a future puzzle. Some sort of ritual that they have to complete of... the first offering is flesh, the second offering is bone, the third offering is all. They got to the grate, and they happened to have a crowbar, so they pried open the grate, and they got the brass key, which was nice. Then they stumbled into the big ooze monster in the water. And I'm still not quite sure how that was meant to be run. The module seems to suggest that as long as it's in the water, attacks against it have disadvantage. But perhaps as soon as combat starts and it rises out of the water, that's no longer meant to apply. I'm not sure. I ran it with disadvantage on all attacks, which was probably a little too harsh, but they ended up, you know, fending it off. The others were like, no one has to die, you were just dumb. Yeah, I mean, a funnel, it's possible to get through with no one dying. I've never seen it, both solo and at conventions. I've never seen anyone not die. They're really pretty brutal at conventions, in my experience. It's very easy for you to just, like, almost without a roll often, you'll just be like, yeah, you tumble down and you die. Or like, one roll. If you fuck up one roll, you're dead. Basically, anything you would attempt to do, if you fail, you're probably dead. But that's because there's no further campaign or anything. It's just the funnel. I generally do all right at conventions in funnels, but I also try and play it really just for fun. I don't really care if I survive or not. But yeah, it's a funnel. That's the whole. That's why it's called a funnel or a gauntlet, or like it's meant to be a meat grinder, and that's the whole point. But that's also why a lot of people don't like them, fundamentally, because it teaches the wrong lessons about future play or the design intent of the game. Anyways, they decided to just walk under the waterfall with their torch to douse it instead of doing anything like putting the pot lid above it or something. But you know, they had an extra torch. It's kind of pretty dumb though, because light is their most precious resource. So cutting down on your torch timer in any way is not recommended. But in the long run, they didn't ever run out of light. They got kind of lucky, and it worked out. And let's see. Right, the acid room. Yeah, they did thankfully remember to use the pot lid above them in order to loot the backpack. That was pretty good. Would have been slightly smarter to go one at a time and keep throwing the pot lid back and forth between each other. But, you know, they're really new to the game. They've never played RPGs before, so it's okay. Visually, you thought it was a stream waterfall by your feet not coming down on our head. Yes, there's an easy way to remedy that, though, and that's just to ask a question to clarify what is in front of you. And this is why a lot of DMs don't like these maps. These really detailed third-party maps that people make. Because players look at it and they answer their own questions rather than asking for clarification. Because they don't need it. Well, why would I ask? It's clear. It's on this map here. I don't need to ask. And then you get misunderstandings. So they made it through the acid room, I think, with only one death. One of Lego's characters. And then Lego proceeded to throw a hissy fit because I made him have to roll in order to go and get the loot off of that person's body. Because his argument was that the body would have propelled itself into the room upon death. Anyways, they made it to then the fountain room. The puzzle fountain room. With a fountain filled with caustic acid. And they searched every inch of that room. They were convinced that there was something other than this fountain filled with acid for them to find. Because there's this little alcove. And they're like, there's got to be a secret door here. There's got to be something. We got to search. Even though the murals on the wall clearly were reminiscent of the 3 statues that they saw earlier. And I believe it even says in the module to say to the players that it's reminiscent of the 3 statues you saw earlier. They didn't want to correlate the two. So they never really, like... I don't know what they were thinking exactly or not thinking. I mean, it's not that complicated of a puzzle. It's pretty simple. The first offering is flesh, so you just have to give some flesh. Which could be anything, really. Technically, I think the module just says that it has to be something that caused at least 1 point of damage. So one of the characters that has more than 1 hit point could just, like, cut themselves and drop it into the fountain. The second offering is bone. There were multiple bones around. I even specifically mentioned there were bones resting on the grate that they pried open. When I played it solo last time, I immediately grabbed one of the bones because if I have to make a bone offering, you better believe I'm going to grab a bone instead of one of my bones. And then the third offering is all. So it has to be some living creature that they toss in alive. Could have been a rat. Could have been one of the other creatures that they found. Or it could be a person. Lego eventually got really fed up, threw another little bitch fit until he decided that one of his characters just dives into the acid. I don't know strictly how the module interprets that, if you skip 3 steps, or if I was supposed to just interpret that as an offering of flesh, and then they still had to offer bone and all. But I interpret it as if, you know, if you're throwing it all in at once, it'll go through all 3 stages and complete all 3 offerings. So that opened up the little secret door, and they made it to the main chamber where their big doors are. And this introduces the core puzzle of the dungeon, where it says for them to speak the devotion to the Slime Lord. That's the puzzle. They have to speak their devotion to the Slime Lord. And at the bottom of the fountain, they uncover 2 lines of text. I don't know what they thought these were. I don't know if they thought this was just flavor text or not. The concept of a pro nerd DMing for his amateur family has to already exist on YouTube. It's potentially hilarious. Yeah, it's something. It's definitely something. It was hilarious the first 50 sessions, maybe. But yeah, basically no one wrote down the first 2 lines of the devotion. Their excuse was that I read it too fast and they didn't want to ask for it to be reread. The fact that they didn't want to ask for it to be reread means, of course, that they didn't think that it was important. Regardless of whatever else, they didn't think it was important. It's a funnel? Oh, are you talking about you sacrificing your character? Yes. Many players would have immediately threw one of their characters in. The problem wasn't you threw one of your characters in. The problem was you threw a bitch fit about it. Many players would just have a laugh and be like, all right, my guy just dives straight in. It says, farewell, cruel world, and dives into the pit of acid. That is a very valid tactic in a funnel. Which, again, is why some DMs don't like it, or some people don't like it. Because that's not something you would ever do later on. And dungeons aren't designed with that in mind later on. So it just kind of teaches new players some bad habits. But, you know, it's funnel. Right, so they didn't write down the devotion. And they kept on moving, and they got to a 40-foot drop-off in this one room. And rather than trying to climb down and get to the bottom, they said, screw this, and left. And then they got to... They went into this cave. There was like a blockage of rocks and rubble, so they cleared that out and spent a bunch of torch time on that. And they got to this room with these big slime eater centipedes. And the slime eaters were eating some slime off in the corner next to a body. And on the plus side, they did not just charge in and attack. That is good. That was very solid. On the downside, they never came up with any plan at all, or even an attempt of a plan in order to get at the body, to get the loot. So they did not learn really a valuable lesson there, other than just don't get into combat, which is true, but you want to not get into combat and get the loot. And they were observing them eating slime, and in the very next room, there's a giant bowl of orange slime that they can just collect and take, and it's basically unlimited slime. So it's like complete freedom to do whatever you want with this slime. It's your slime. They did not use that slime to try and get the loot past the slime eaters. Which, yeah, does not bode well for future encounters, to say the least. Buffet of slime. You're learning now, never get into combat unless you can overwhelmingly kill something without any chance of loss. You will almost never get into a combat where there's no chance of loss. You know, it's like what they say about getting into a knife fight. You know, it's like... You know... Yeah, the other guy might go to the morgue, but you're going to the hospital, sort of thing. You know, if you win. Like, it's incredibly difficult to get through unscathed. But yes, ambushes and things like that are very powerful. But that was not the lesson to be taken from that room. The lesson from that was that not all enemies need to be fought in order to bypass them and get the loot. Because that's the whole crux of the game, is getting loot. Any enemy can be bypassed by not going into the fucking dungeon. You know, that's not the point. So they go to the next room. There's a big bowl of orange slime, and there's like murals on the wall with some indecipherable runes. And my nephew, always brave and bold, decides to consume some of the slime, which was the correct thing to do. It's actually the only way to finish the dungeon. So I'm glad he had the balls to do so. There are a couple hints that you can find on notes, which they did find, that suggest that eating the slime isn't necessarily a bad thing, and especially maybe eating the orange slime is not a bad thing. So there is some hints there. It's not just a complete crapshoot of, hey, I'm going to eat this orange slime. That's why I think it's important for DMs running it to just make sure players find those notes without, like, hiding it behind a roll. So he eats the slime, and he kind of trips balls for a little bit. And the runes on the walls turn into letters that he can read and spell out the second half of the devotion that they need to read in front of the doors. And once again, they did not write it down because they don't like my words. They don't care for my words. And so they just skipped over it and went on. Then we got into the major combat of the session, and this is where Lego, of course, did not learn that lesson yet, because, well, he sort of did, but he did it in his little bitch way by just hiding in the back, because he didn't want to lose his character. So the other three just basically charged in and fought against 4 skeletons. And yeah, this not great. Now, the skeletons are covered in basically this green jelly, this acidic jelly, which they've already encountered. It's what was in the fountain, so they know it's acidic jelly. They have also encountered, at this point, 2 giant human-sized centipedes that consume slime. Now, a clever player would have lured the skeletons backwards into the centipedes and killed 2 birds with 1 giant slime-covered stone. Given enough time, you would have lured the skeletons and slime to the centipede, but you needed another 45 minutes. Yeah, that's not good. You need to think of that basically in like 2 minutes. Or, I mean, maybe 45 minutes is an exaggeration, but you should have said, like, guys, wait, let's think this through. You're going into a fair fight. He has told us 1,000 times a fair fight is a fight we've already lost. Maybe we shouldn't go in there armed with a crowbar and a dagger. Or, you know, they went into the room. I think my mom went into the room, perhaps, in order to... because she thought she could just walk past the skeletons. But as soon as the skeletons turn and are like, hey, fuck your face, the group should be like, all right, we back up. We retreat. You know. Oftentimes, undead cannot leave, like, the room they're in or the area they're in. It's one of the general sort of fundamentals about undead is they're generally bound to a specific, space. But a lot of creatures don't pursue. For the same reason that players often don't pursue. It's like it's easy to get led into an ambush or a trap or something. So a lot of creatures don't pursue. You knew that was a lost cause. It's a funnel, so they could have lost 300. Yes. It's the same thing I've said multiple times now, though. Funnels can teach bad habits. Off topic, you know, it's been a while since my 40k X SCP Foundation video, but how do I think the Foundation would have done in the 40k universe if they took the place of the Tau? So you mean some sort of universal conjunction thing and the Tau just wholesale replaced by the Foundation? I guess it depends on at what point this replacement occurred. Like, if the Foundation had developed for millennia as that position, as the Tau, or if they were just suddenly replaced in current time period. 42nd millennia. Replaced right before the 6K shield era. Yeah, probably pretty good. Oh, Jesus Christ. Better than I just did, that's for sure. Ugh. See, Lego? You get into a shit situation and you run. Yeah, I mean, the Foundation is very resourceful, you know. They're already, like, in their current time period, basically the most technologically advanced organization. They know how to keep well hidden. Like, veil of secrecy is something that's kind of paramount to them. And they're not entirely opposed to using anomalies to further their goals. And so there are obviously various canons where the Foundation becomes spacefaring and stuff. I don't think they would be nearly as expansionist as the Tau. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, 'cause it's like, they're not really a governing body in the same way. So unless there's some sort of crisis, which I don't know that much about the Tau, but I don't think they expand because there's a crisis on their home world or anything. And so I don't think they would be that much of a presence in the overall galaxy compared to the Tau. But, you know, depends on the same thing in comic books, depends on the writer. Anyways, they eventually defeat the skeletons, as Lego said, through sheer force of numbers, because you never run out of characters. You do kind of wish you could hear Lego arguing with me. Oh, you mean like during the session? Yeah, I mean, we've talked about streaming it. If I got like a new mic setup and everything. It would be nice to at least record it so that I could have it like AI summarize the sessions for them and things like that. Or to like just go back and like reference something. That'd be kind of nice. They defeated the skeletons. They used the brass key they had found to open this locked door to the armory. They all got equipped with proper weapons now. And they go and they went to the bottom of the 40-foot drop and they loot the body there. So all is well. They're fully equipped. And then they kind of roamed around for a while and thought for a long while and had no fucking clue what to do at this point. Because they had no idea about the devotion. In front of the giant doors that they need to leave through, there's some scratched out text. There's 4 lines of text. And they only can read like the first few letters of each line. And I was like, even a child could figure this out, right? This is really basic. Because they've gotten 4 lines of text from the devotions. There's 4 lines of text. They have all 4 lines. They can read the first few letters of each line. How could they possibly not get this? They didn't get it. I think eventually I just kind of had to help them because they were just not getting it. It was a sad state of affairs, to say the least. Puzzles are not their strong suit. But they eventually got it open, and the doors start to open slowly, and then Rakauku appears behind them, the giant necrotic gelatinous cube. And they kind of charged in and started fighting with it, and then Lego, he had picked up off of the dead body this magical holy symbol that repels slime. And so he had tied it to his 10-foot pole that he picked up, and he charged in and used it to try to repel Rakauku. And he rolled well, and it was a good tactic, and it was commendable. And so I didn't see anything in Rakauku's stat line that made him immune to this, so he fled as if he was turned. And he fled away into the darkness, and they ran out the door, and they met up with Sir Gavin of the Holy Edict. The Silver Edict. Rakauku will live to see another day, but they survive, and that's often what matters. Now, the one major thing they did miss out on, of course, is the magical Warhammer. had they picked up the 3 hardened pieces of ooze at various places around the dungeon and pressed them into the 3 cubes of slime at the altar, they would have opened a room which would have contained a magical warhammer that does triple damage versus all slimes and ooze enemies. It's a pretty nice little magic weapon, especially to start out a campaign with. Especially if you're going to follow up on these slime cultists, it's really handy. But, you know, it's tough to get everything out of a dungeon, and that was sort of the big secret find. You have a queasy feeling, a vague, powerful presence. However, something or perhaps its absence seems to hinder her from taking a physical form. That's vague and ominous. Right, so they joined up with the Silver Edict on their quest to vanquish chaos and all. That's fucking bullshit. Vanquish chaos in all forms and protect the innocent. And Sir Gavin supplied them with equipment and food and things like that, and they leveled up the first level. And we have ourselves a priest, a fighter, a thief, and a wizard. Classic arrangement. And Sir Gavin sent them off to a little village that he has heard some things are going on in. And that's where we're going to pick it up next week. Just pretty good. So yeah, I mean, it could have gone better, of course, but I mean, they all said they enjoyed it, so good. And now the funnel's over, so now the stakes are real. Death is real behind every corner. And yeah, I have no idea what they'll do. I have like 22 dungeons prepared throughout the hex crawl, so we'll see what they end up getting into. That's what's up. Yeah, and then Lego and I on this coming Wednesday, we're also going to be starting a new Shadow Art thing. Our Shadow Art things have tended to be pretty short-lived. We keep dying. I'm trying to encourage Lego to be a bit more of a DM than I am. You know, I'm trying to encourage him to take over DM reins just to give it a try. And at least when we play on stream, instead of me sort of having the document in front of me and me reading everything and taking the reins, I want to encourage him to take the reins so I can be a bit more of a player and maybe improve our survival chances. He's reluctant for some reason. I think he does not like to read words. And if you've ever watched our streams, I think he's averse to words and the written language. I think it scares him sometimes. If one of them said they were going to pray to you for an answer as their character's god, in a sense, would you let them roll for it? I have a standing rule, actually, for them that's gone on for the last few years, where at once per session, they have a question for God. They're allowed to ask me anything. And I will answer as truthfully and honestly as I can. Outside of that, no, probably not, because there are specific spells that kind of replicate that, like augury and clairaudience and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there are in most games spells that allow you to ask the DM a question, or like a yes or no thing or something like that, and they are going to answer truthfully or something. They've never taken those spells, they've never gotten those, they've never used them, but they have used Question for God quite a bit in the past. They often don't like my answers. Just because I don't always want to just, like, spoil the whole fucking module or the whole adventure or whatever for them, and, like, just seems really lame, but they have used it to good effect. And I will maintain that rule because they really need it. But yeah, I mean, maybe I should think about streaming our sessions if they're all okay with it, because probably some people would get a kick out of it. I'd have to just figure out the best way to do like a microphone setup or something. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, outside of lavalier mics for everyone, I don't know what the best single mic option is. The camera would probably be just pretty basic static camera. I don't think shotgun mic is the correct choice there. That doesn't sound right. And I don't... No, the camera I don't care about as much. I don't want you to have to switch your camera between setups every week, multiple times per week. I don't know. I'll think about it, but... Yeah, so the campaign begins proper this week. Hopefully they don't all die. I have altered Shadow Dark quite a lot to make it a little harsher, a little bit more lethal, but also to make characters more powerful. So it's, you know, it goes both ways. If you use a lavalier mic and split it 6 ways. Don't know what that means. One lavalier mic split 6 ways? I was just more thinking like a Yeti Blue or something on omnidirectional mode. 6 mic, yeah, see, I don't think... we don't want to do that. No one wants to wear a mic. I certainly don't want to wear a microphone for this. Anyways, that'll about do it for today. Some more Dominions this week, more solo RPGs. Probably The Drifter, which I really recommend to everybody. It's a good game. And on the Exploring series, I believe it's The Steel Soul combined into one video. But for now, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.